After a long wait of almost 3 years, we are finally back with Autocar Track Day. It's that time of the year where we bring in some of the most fun to drive, exciting cars out on a track and put them through the paces of the fastest Indian, Narain Karthikeyan. Hi Narain.
Hello, hi.
It's been a while, almost 3 years now.
Great to be back.
Yeah, but this time it's a bit more special because we're in an all-new location, India's newest racetrack.
Yes, the CoASTT is India's newest race and test track, as you said. And what a wild lineup we have.
Yeah.
And it's like a kid in a candy store.
I mean, we've got everything from 1-liter hatchbacks to, we've got flat sixes. Your favorite, the 911 GT3 RS.
Yeah, one of my favorite all-time cars. And we have a very strong German contingent. The McLarens, the 750S. I'm looking forward to it. The Mercedes SL. We also have, the Skoda Slavia and Virtus and so on and so forth. So it's a good mix of cars. We have the Taycan Turbo S, the e-tron from Audi as well. So mega lineup.
Exactly, good mix. EVs, there's also plug-in hybrid in the form of the XM. So yeah, a lot of cars to look forward to. Enough talking, let's get the car set up. Let's get Narain to get his game face on and let's go have the best day of our lives. Autocar India Track Day 2024 presented by Apollo Tyres. It started off with prepping the cars for some hot laps around a hot track. Setting optimum tire pressures is vital for the perfect lap time, and of course installing our trusty timing gear along with a bunch of eyes in the form of GoPros and cameras for the best view. A brand new lineup of cars on a brand new racetrack would be daunting for many, but for Narain, it was game time. The first car out on the track was the Maruti Suzuki Fronx, packing a 1-liter turbo petrol engine, putting out 100 horsepower and made it to a 5-speed manual. On paper, it might not be a hot hatch. In fact, its SUV-ish looks make it a cross between an SUV and a hatch, but the engine is the real star here. The inaugural lap on a new track was set with a time of 2 minutes 14.70 seconds.
Chassis balance was quite good. In fact, generated a lot of grip from the tires, and I felt there was a little bit of roll, but it has a very strong engine, and I felt quite composed on the track, and so I it's a good package, and of course not meant for the track, but still nevertheless it did a outstanding job.
Next up was the Hyundai i20, but with the N-line treatment. It too gets a 1-liter turbo petrol engine but makes 120 horsepower and is mated to a 7-speed DCT gearbox. Thanks to the stiffer suspension, it performs well in the corners but would have been a lot better with some more straight line speed. What's also surprising is the fact that the i20 had a slower top speed than the Fronx and was also slower in some of the corners. Still, on the whole lap, it was faster than the Fronx with a time of 2 minutes 13.33 seconds.
Certainly, if he has a sporty ride to it, the steering weighs up nicely and there is much less lean on the car, so obviously it's quite stiff. I don't have much complaints on the dynamic part of the car. It's just that it is so slow on the straight that you make up a lot of time in the corners, but once you hit some gradient, it just doesn't have the, it doesn't push you across, so top speed is very low.
Time now to move on to the sedans, and the first one to go was the Volkswagen Virtus GT manual. 150 horsepower 1.5-liter turbo petrol engine was quick on the straights and quite composed through the corners as well. It clocked in at an impressive 2 minutes 12.43 seconds. It could have gone slightly quicker if it wasn't for the traction control cutting in frequently.
The Virtus GT manual, yes, 150 horsepower, very fast on a straight line, and I feel that again handles quite well, German engineered of course, and feels quite grippy on the track. I could have done a better lap time, but the traction control seems to be, coming on even, and we may not be able to override the system. But the tires seem to have good grip, so overall, I like the feel of the car.
Next was the Virtus's cousin from Skoda, the Slavia 1.5, but with a DSG gearbox. The same 1.5 TSI engine with 150 horsepower meant on the straights it was impressive, but the DSG ensured the shifts were quicker and it powered up the hill at turns 4 and 5 while hitting higher top speed than the Verna that has a better power to weight ratio. All combined, it was marginally faster than the Virtus with a time of 2 minutes 12.11 seconds.
Yeah, so this is the 1.5 DSG Slavia. Slightly, lap time wise, slightly faster than the GT Virtus. I suppose because of the DSG gearbox, it was much easier to downshift into the corners, but also the upshifts were quite linear, and overall the state of tune of the steering wheel is slightly different. Feel of the car is slightly different, but yes, it's very, very close in terms of the ride comfort and everything else compared with the Virtus GT.
The main rival to the Virtus and the Slavia was next in the form of the Hyundai Verna Turbo. The 1.5-litre turbo petrol engine in the Verna makes 160 horsepower and is mated to a 7-speed DCT gearbox. The 10 horsepower extra sure gives it good pace on the straights, but in the corners it misses the sure-footedness of the German sedans. It clocked in a 2 minutes 13.61 second lap time.
This is the Verna Turbo, as you said, 160 horsepower. Yeah, quite little bit of a plush ride. So, the rotation was quite slow, but it had quite a bit of power on the straight. Was quite, the top speed was quite high, but on the hot lap, the engine alarms came on. So the lap time should have been faster, but it's the same for all other cars. So that was a bit of a dampener to not achieve the best lap times possible. In terms of a direct compare with the Slavia and the Virtus, I suppose this is tuned for more of a plusher ride. But again, the quality of materials and the sporty feel makes it feel like a performance car. Certainly, the engine feels quite linear and quite strong. So yeah, it wasn't bad. Hyundai's always had a very soft riding car. Now they're moving away from this, which is positive.
Next was the big SUV that also gets the full M pedigree. The XM is a grounds-up M car from BMW, and while it is wacky and huge in size, it does pack in a lot with its V8 engine. It also is a plug-in hybrid, so there is a lot to handle its size. It lapped in at 1 minute 57.76 seconds.
A lot of horsepower, but also a lot of weight. So yeah, on the track, you feel the weight of the car. And so under braking and under hard axle, cornering speeds, you feel the mass. And the CG, as you can see, is quite high. So it was quite difficult to drive on the track, but it has a lot of power, and also the gearbox seems to be quite nice. Very M feeling. So they've got the character of the M, but then in ultra luxury and comfort, I suppose. Really not for the track, but I think it'll chew up the miles on the road.
Next up is also a BMW, but this one is much lighter and lower to the ground. It is the M340i. It's gathered a huge following for its value proposition and also its strong performance from the 3-litre straight-six engine. But while it's rapid in the straight line, it could have been slightly better in the corners. Nevertheless, it beat the C43, which is its direct rival, by 0.5 seconds, lapping in at 1 minute 56.57 seconds.
Yeah, so this is the M340i. Of course, with the four-wheel drive system, you have a little bit of wheel shudder from the front. So mainly, I think the car is set up for understeer. So the, previous generation of these, especially the C3 series, was more on the oversteery side, more, I would say suited for the track. But of course, this has a stonking engine and it's very fast on the straight line. But the four-wheel drive system is a little bit, difficult to drive. There's a lot of understeer. But comfortable, from point A to B, it's going to be very fast. And yeah, it's just feel the mass a little bit, the weight of the cars also, I feel it's pretty, shows up on the track. The steering feel, quite direct and, quite responsive. It's just that after turning, there's so much push from the front end and the wheel shudder, which becomes a snappy oversteer. That's slightly off for a racetrack, but I think safety is built, into this car. So yeah.
The arch rival to the M340i is inarguably the Mercedes-AMG C43. A 2-litre turbo petrol engine made it to a 9-speed MCT gearbox but gets more power than the BMW. Its sounds also nice and raspy, however it does struggle when it comes to corners and lacks the typical AMG stiffness. It clocked in a slightly slower 1 minute 57.06 seconds.
Again, it's a very driver-focused car. It's the smaller of the the AMGs in the C class, but linear power delivery, 4-cylinder engine sounds very nice. The AMG C43 has a bit more front end, less wheel shudder from the front. There's slightly less neutral, I would say. Well, this is still comfortable enough, but it's not a, true blown AMG, in my opinion. But compared to the 340i, I felt that this was slightly firmer, but maybe more, track focused.
Next up is the Merc that, unlike the C43, does not try to blend in. It is the stylish SL55 that gets a rumbling V8, and although it's more for cruising around with the roof down, it's still a fast AMG. However, a good set of tires would have made a big difference with the lap time, and this one clocked in at 1 minute 53.69 seconds.
On the track, I have to point out that it has different brand of tires. So it's not consistent, and I had a lot of push from the, whenever you turn left, so meaning a lot of understeer. So again, lap times may not be representative, but it's a shame that we couldn't get a proper set of tires to do a proper push lap. Nevertheless, has a stonking engine, sounds like a big American V8, so the sound is awesome. And it's just very easy to drive. The big V8 puts out a lot of power, so you can get it sideways and so on. A lot of fun. I just wish it had better tires. If you compare directly, you feel a slight amount of flex, but it is all convertibles are of a similar character, so nothing new there. But I think overall the feel and and the styling and everything else. It's very iconic car.
After the stylish SL was the pocket rocket AMG A45S. That is one of the hottest hatches in the world right now and a whole lot fun, especially in the corners. Gets a 2-liter turbo petrol engine but puts out 421 horsepower and has all-wheel drive as well. The lap was a quick 1 minute 53.83 seconds.
Yeah, the A45S is a pocket rocket as they call it. For a hatchback, it's extremely fast. It still has the 4-wheel drive system, but it is much more pointy in the turn-ins. Lot of rotation, and in this track, especially from turn 2 to turn 5, you could keep it nailed completely on the throttle. You didn't have to lift at all, so which is extremely, you get a nice feeling. It's like a small race car, but yeah, it's easy to drive. Also, you can have some fun with the cars, shifting a little bit in the rear. So overall, a lot of fun.
Now if you're wondering where the BMW M4 is, unfortunately it couldn't set a lap as a result of its tires that were not in the best shape, and so it had to be left out. Before we move to the supercars, here are the 3 EVs partaking in this track day as well, and the first one is a big luxurious family car. The Kia EV6 sure has a lot of power with all-wheel drive, and it is all instantaneous, but it is also heavy and the form factor isn't meant for the track. But Narain sure enjoyed the electric acceleration and clocked in an impressive 2 minutes 03.50 seconds.
So this is the Kia EV6, 325 horsepower. How does it feel on the track? Well, I thought it felt mega, a lot of fun, but you feel the weight. It's a EV platform, so there's a lot of mass which is traveling through. The biggest issue is the brakes. There's a huge fade on the track. So after my hot lap, turn 1, I had no brakes. So, but it's fun. It lets you to have a little bit of you can drift the car and so on and so forth. But I really like the way it kind of delivers the power. But nevertheless, I think I was pleasantly surprised. 203 on this track is quite a fast time. So it's a nice little package. Yeah.
Next up, an EV that wears a Turbo S badge. The Taycan Turbo S gets the Porsche form factor and a lot of power as well, but manages the weight very well, and the steering calibration is one of the best seen on an EV. It did a respectable 1 minute 51.28 seconds.
For something that is, weighs over 2.5 tons, to do such a fast lap time is incredible. Porsche engineering, of course, they work very hard on dynamics, and of course it has tons of EV power. You see more than 210k on the dial on this track, which is quite fast. And also it has the dynamics are so well sorted that we don't have much scrub, and I felt that it was quite neutral. You have a bit of oversteer, but still in the fast corners it still gives you a very planted feel to it.
Up next, shining in black, was the Audi e-tron RS that looks fast even when it's still, and although low on power, shares a lot with the Porsche Taycan. Terrific straight line acceleration, but like most EVs, has to lug around a lot of mass thanks to the battery pack. What helps it around the track though is the Quattro system, and it did a time of 1 minute 54.61 seconds.
The RS e-tron GT, I think, is more for plusher ride, and also dynamically it's not as sharp as the Taycan Turbo S. Hence the lap time is a bit slower, and I think the outright power output is about 100 horsepower less as well. So, I mean, this has a lot more lean. You can feel it in the long corners. But I think the retardation on braking, so on, is very similar to the Taycan Turbo S. Overall, more plusher drive, but that is much more suited to the racetrack for sure.
Now it's time for the most exciting group, the supercars. Track bred, lots of power and high speeds, these are cars that offer the most amount of fun. We start off with the stunning looking McLaren Artura that gets a V6 hybrid powertrain with almost 700 horsepower, and that also recorded the fastest top speed of 217.9 kph, and it clocked in a fast 1 minute 46.23 seconds.
Again, as you said, V6 hybrid, very fast, but quite comfortable as well. You have a lot of, it's not so hard edged, and it's an everyday car. So yeah, I was a bit surprised of the pace of the Artura. In fact, the straight line was very similar to the fastest cars we've driven here, the 750S, and it's only a few kilometers behind. But I was, as I told you earlier, the 750S, yes, I knew it was going to be fast. But the Artura was a big surprise today.
From a V6 hybrid, we move on to the flat 6 turbo petrol from the Porsche 911 Turbo S. 640 horsepower with all-wheel drive and Porsche handling makes it a Porsche that's fast everywhere. And it shows in the lap time as well, with a quick 1 minute 47.24 seconds.
Yeah, the 911 Turbo S, incredible car, so easy to drive. I think any driver can get into it and be fast. And it is, of course, it has a very plush ride when you want it to be on the roads. But on the racetrack, it's a completely different animal. And I feel that it's not too far behind the the GT3 RS. So it has an incredible amount of power on the straights. Of course, it's very, very fast. But I mean, overall, I would say it's so driver friendly, so easy to drive. And the new generation of the 911 Turbo S is again engineered to the highest level, but it just becomes faster and easier, even though it's grown a little bit. I mean, it's an incredible car.
Next up, another Porsche, but this one is made especially for the track. The 718 GT4 RS with the Weissach pack is as close to a track car as you can get. 500 horsepower engine shared with the 911 GT3 and rear wheel drive makes it a handful, but also a whole lot fun. It clocked in a 1 minute 49.11 seconds. Not the fastest time, but definitely one of the most fun laps.
Yeah, the GT4 RS, 9,000 RPM. I mean, everyone talks about it, but when you drive it, then you really feel, the engine is, it's evolved over many years, and it's 9,000 RPM is magical. It sounds the part. I mean, as a car, it's meant for the track. I feel very nimble to drive. The short wheelbase, the lightweight of the car. May not have the outright speed as the turbo and even the the GT2 RS and so on and so forth. But I think fun factor, it's one of the best cars you can drive on the track. Of course you want more power, but it's very well balanced, and one of the best handling cars you can buy. So yeah, again, Porsche has taken it to a different level. But yeah, fantastic.
Time for the last two cars in this year's track day, and we've saved the best for the last. The McLaren 750S is a purebred mid-engine rear-wheel drive supercar with 750 horsepower and that big V8 that sounds incredible. The 750S gets shorter gearing, better aero and better brakes as well, making it a monster on the track. It clocked in a super quick 1 minute 44.28 seconds.
It feels exactly like that, supercar, through and through. It has a carbon tub and 750 horsepower, so there's absolutely no flex. It's very stiff, but it's so fast on the track. It's done a low 44, today is a very, very hot day in Coimbatore. Track temperatures were very high, but to be miles ahead of the other cars is incredible. And of course, it has a lot of power, but to put down that power, the chassis is also copes with it brilliantly. So dynamically, it's great. Very good tires as well, the Trophy R's. Also the nature of coast, it's very flowing. So this car is brilliant to drive in the high-speed corners. Looks like, I know it doesn't have huge wings, but it generates a lot of downforce. So yeah, I mean, it's, very fast.
And now time for the last but definitely not the least. The 911 GT3 RS is not only a mighty track car but is also Narain's favourite of the lot, and he ensured we know why. The aerodynamic prowess is the highlight, and while it is at least 10 kph slower in a straight line while compared to the top 4, it's still at least 3 seconds faster over the lap. It completely obliterated the lap time with a 1 minute 40.71 seconds, putting everyone at the track and Narain in a bit of a shock.
I mean, it's just shocking. It's just incredible that the GT3 RS goes out and shatters the lap record set by the same car by 4 seconds. What's the difference? We had new rubber like the McLaren and some other cars, and I mean, what can I say? It's so easy to drive, and it gives you a lot of confidence, and you could brake so deep just after the 100-meter mark in turn 1. You could be flat all the way through from turn 2, which is the 670 meters of being full throttle. That's where it gained a lot of time, and it's also elevated, very fast section of the track. It's not easy in any of these other cars, and it just carries so much speed everywhere. I think the downforce, and then aided with the DRS on the straight, the active diff, of course the 9,000 RPM screaming engine, the flat 6, and this engine is evolved, but the chassis has made a lot of difference in terms of dynamics. Again, huge step forward. So I'm not surprised when this car goes and shatters lap records all over the world. I mean, you can see why.
There couldn't have been a bigger bang on which to draw the curtain on Track Day 2024, and in summary, it had it all. Hatchbacks, EVs, SUVs, and of course the stars of the show, the supercars, all led by the track car of the year, the GT3 RS. It was a super fun day, and we can't wait for the next one.